We'll begin with our invocation. Is Pastor Husaba with us? Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis, would you like to do the invocation, or can we ask Councilman Fleming?
Sure.
If you'll all rise, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Thank you. Father, we just love you. We just thank you that you first loved us, Lord. We just ask your blessings on this meeting tonight, Lord. Be with each person here, each speaker, Father. Just give us wisdom in our words, Father. Direct our thoughts and our actions, Lord, and all that we undertake to do. And, Father, we just thank you for this wonderful city that we have and the wonderful people here, Father. And we just pray that you'll just continue to bless our city, Father, and continue to bless our country. Give our leaders wisdom and direction, Father, throughout this nation, Father. Be with those who are serving in the military and their families that are apart from them, Father. Just watch over and care for them. And, Father, we just love you and thank you again for all the blessings you've given us. These things we pray in your precious and holy name, Lord. Amen.
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 I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you. The March 19, 2012 Troy City Council meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Mayor Daniels.
Here.
Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Councilmember Henderson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis.
Here.
Councilmember Slater.
Here.
Councilmember Teets.
Here.
Quorum present. There are no carryover items or public hearings, so we can move to our proclamation that we're going to present to Shields Restaurant. I understand Mr. Andoni is here. Hello. Would the council like to join me at the podium? The City of Troy proclamation celebrating 20 years, Shields Restaurant and Pizzeria. Thank you. Whereas Shields Restaurant and Pizzeria celebrates its 20th anniversary as a City of Troy business at 1476 Maple Road, and whereas in 1992, Peter and Paul Andoni purchased the 8,000 square foot Troy location, formerly the Smith Brothers Restaurant. The restaurant, with seating for 250, has a main dining room, banquet room, and full bar area. And whereas Peter and Paul Andoni purchased a Southfield location in 1996, and in 2001 they opened Encore Catering, which is now the preferred caterer for the Troy Community Center, serving delicious food for banquets and special events of all sizes. And whereas the Andoni brothers franchised the Shields concept in 2003, and in 2005 opened a franchise location in Macomb Township. Thanks to their loyal, satisfied customers and many new customers, Shields Restaurant had their best year ever in 2011. And with their carryout and catering business up substantially. They expanded the catering services as a result of a growing demand for on- and off-premise catering for corporations and individuals hosting special events for up to 800 people. And whereas Shields Restaurant and the Andoni brothers are strong community supporters, contributing to a variety of charitable organizations, schools, and churches throughout the area. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of Troy do hereby congratulate Shields Restaurant and Pizzeria on its 20th anniversary and recognizes its impact upon our community as it serves as a steadfast and dedicated business in the City of Troy. And be it further resolved that the Mayor, City Council, and City Management join the citizens of this community in appreciation and celebration of the 20th anniversary of Shields Restaurant and Pizzeria in the City of Troy, presented this 19th day of March 2012. Here you are.
Thank you.
Sure, Mayor and members of the council, I just wanted to say thank you very much. This is a very nice honor. How the years fly when you're having fun. What is rewarding to see is couples coming in with their young kids right now who were kids themselves coming in with their parents in 1992 when we first opened. And we're so proud to be part of this community, and we work very hard to make Troy part of us. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Again, as I said, there are no carryover items or public hearings, so now we move to public comments. The audience should be aware that all comments are to be directed to the council rather than to the city administration or to the audience. Also, there's a timer on the city council table in front of the mayor that turns yellow when there's 1 minute of speaker time remaining and turns red when the speaker's time is up. In order to make the meeting more orderly and out of respect, please do not clap during the meeting. And please do not use expletives or make derogatory or disparaging comments about any one person or group. If you do so, there may be immediate consequences, including having the microphone turned off, being asked to leave the meeting, and/or the deletion of speaker comments for any rebroadcast of the meeting. Speakers should also be careful to avoid saying anything that would subject them to civil liability, such as slander or defamation. Please avoid these consequences and voluntarily assist us in maintaining the decorum befitting this great city. We have 12 speakers that have signed up. First in line is Leonette Sipolowski. Excuse me if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor Daniels, City Council, City Management, I'm Leonette Sepolowski, and I'm the chairperson of Troy Youth Assistance. And I have joining me this evening are Karen Wansovich, the caseworker for Troy Youth Assistance, and Casey Scudder, who is the Athens High School rep to the Board of Directors for Troy Youth Assistance. We're here this evening to update you on what's going on with Troy's Youth Assistance. Even though we no longer receive financial support from the City of Troy, we have a strong presence in the Troy community. We maintain a strong working relationship with the Troy Police Department and with our nonprofit partners for youth, namely Troy Community Coalition, the Boys and Girls Club of Troy, and the Rotary Club of Troy. We're grateful for the in-kind support that we receive from the Troy School District and for the financial support that we receive from Oakland County Circuit Court Family Division for our full-time caseworker, Karen Wansovich. Last year, Karen processed 56 in-house referrals and 35 information referrals for to outside sources. We're sponsoring our third Parent Ed program this school year on April 16th. It's called Parenting with the Future in Mind, and at the end of this month we're sponsoring a party at Troy Union School on March 28th for 30 students, and we're matching them with high school students from Athens and Troy at an after-school party. At Halloween, believe it or not, we collected 300 pounds of candy, and with the help of Senior Girl Scout Troop 2790, we distributed it to local food banks who used it in their food baskets during the holidays. We provide scholarships for summer camp programs sponsored by the City of Troy, Troy Community Coalition, and the Boys and Girls Club. And throughout the school year, we continue to fund scholarship opportunities for skill-building activities for Troy youth. Those Troy youth have to be financially qualified in order to receive one of our scholarships. In May, we will honor 50 Troy youth for their contribution to the Troy community at our annual recognition event. It is on Wednesday, May 2nd. You will all be invited. We hope to see you there. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to honor our young candidates and let them know how important volunteering is in their communities. Through the Mentors Plus program, we match caring adults with youth who are on our caseload. Currently, we have 3 matches, and we have 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl, who would like to be matched for 1 year. If you're interested, please contact the Troy Youth Assistance Office. Now, I know you're asking yourself, how do we do all of this? How can we make all of this work? Well, let me tell you. Number one, it's with a small group of very devoted volunteers. And when I say small, I mean small. We number 21. And the way that we are able to do that is there is not a person among us who says no. The question always is, and what more can I do? Secondly, we look for the support of our sponsors by the Troy School District, certainly the City of Troy, and again, the Oakland County Court. But we also are sponsoring our annual fundraiser, which is called Dollars for Education. This is going on right now through May 2nd. Last year, after facing the loss of our funding from the City of Troy, we were forced to organize a fundraiser and generate our operating expenses for 2011-2012. This is a 50-50 raffle with winnings up to $25,000 for a 529 education savings program, or the winner will be awarded a 40% lump sum payout. Only 1,000 tickets will be sold, so the odds are great. The winner of last year's raffle was a Troy High School parent who won $10,050 and immediately deposited that money in a 529 account to fund his daughter's educations. You could be the lucky winner this year, but first you have to purchase a ticket, and it just so happens that Mr. Zerlag and Mrs. Stewart and Detective Sergeant George Zielinski all have tickets for sale. And I want to thank Mr. Zerlag for his generous contribution of selling tickets for us last year. That made a big difference, believe me. Tickets are also available at the TYA office, and you may purchase them right up until the youth recognition event on May 2nd, because that's when we're going to be having our drawing. Our operating budget for 2012-2013 is dependent on our ticket sales.
I'm sorry, the time limit has passed. I thank you
One
so
sentence.
much.
I did pretty good.
Say your last sentence, please.
As I previously mentioned, we are a small group of volunteers, but we firmly believe that the only way we can continue to support our youth and our parents in Troy is by strengthening community. Thank you
so much. Next we have Karen Wanselwitz.
We did it.
We did it together. Oh, you had an extra 5 minutes then.
Thank you.
Mayor Louise Schilling. Good evening, Mrs. Schilling.
I'm here this evening to speak about two issues that occurred this past week, and I felt it incumbent to come myself since I have knowledge of both of these instances. Both of these are occurred by you, Mayor Daniels, and they are a pattern of deceptive behavior. The first occurred at the South Oakland County Mayors Association dinner, which is held each month and is rotated among the communities. This year, Mayor Daniels took it upon herself to invite a photographer to take pictures of the attendees with her. This had not been done before. No permission was asked or given to display these pictures. And lo and behold, they showed up on Mayor Daniels' personal website, which she is using to challenge a successful recall campaign. I personally spoke with 3 members that were there, city managers and mayors, who were surprised. One of them even said to me they felt ambushed to get the photos as they came in the door, and they felt that since no permission was asked or given, that it was misrepresentation. It was not done by the city. It was done individually for purposes of putting it up on a personal website. Several of the folks asked to have the photos taken down, and in 2 instances that has occurred, and there may be others that will ask to have that happen. You ask how I know this information. Well, I happen to inquire, how did the mayor's dinner go? Because I know every once a year or twice a year, it's Troy's turn to have it. And when I was told about the taking of the photographs, I thought, that seems a bit unusual. So I did take it upon myself to call the individuals that I spoke to and ask about it, and this is the information I received. Therefore, I felt it incumbent for the council members and the community to know that this had occurred, because I feel that it is an example of deceptive behavior that is extreme and unacceptable for a mayor of this community. The second incident is a letter that was sent from the desk of Janice L. Daniels to members of the community. In the letter, it says that our city council has been busy addressing the important business of the city, and the following represents some of the significant accomplishments that have taken place in the last few months. And it begins by talking about the website. The dashboard has been up on the website before Mayor Daniels took office, and it was the addition of Open Troy, which is an addition to the website, that was added, but the wording makes it sound like the whole thing was the idea of the present council, which is, again, a misrepresentation. The other is about snow removal. Snow removal and pavement treatment policy has been restored to a 24-hour response protocol. That was done by the previous council last fall. And it goes on at the bottom to talk about future goals, and many of those goals, which are laudable in the goals, are things that this council and the administration, the day-to-day workers, have done for many, many years. So I feel that those items should be corrected, and I felt that I should come to talk about and refute the claims that are in the letter, and to talk about the incident that occurred at the South Oakland County Mayor's Association dinner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schilling. Next is Roger Walters. Mr. Walters?
Hi, Mayor. How are you tonight?
Good evening. I'm fine, thank you.
Just wants to crucify you at the cross just as deeply as they can. There's a bunch of people just want to grow up around here. It's just like they want their job back. If they wanted their job back, they could have still had their job back here if evidently they would have held the position correctly. They would be where you're sitting. So evidently, take your lumps and live with it. Excuse me, I've been sick, I've been feeling too well. I come back up again to, I spoke with you again about Boyd Street issue again. Back again with the Boyd Street issue. The Boyd Street issue is not going to stop. It's not going to stop. Mr. Fleming, it's not going to stop. Because I know your wife's on a school board. It's not going to stop. It's kind of funny, I did this 6 months that I filed a petition with the city of Troy, but this girl comes up here reading a message from her mom that couldn't be here, so she read the note. Well, it's not my problem that she couldn't be here, or maybe she does not speak English.
Excuse me. Be careful. Just be
okay,
careful.
which I really don't
Please.
care, because if I was over there, I couldn't speak that language anyways.
Just be careful, please.
Okay, I'm just trying to be very, polite about it. And that's fine. I don't mind that, anything about that. But if you got something to say, this is where for it to be said, is right here in front of everybody, and in front of this, in front of the speakers. My mother's sitting in the room here too. My mother's lived in Heartland Street for 64 years. My mom still has a school bus driving on her property. My mom still has cars flying down the street. I still got cars flying down my street on Boyd Street. I still got cars flying down there. But you sat up here, Mr. Fleming, and was like, yeah, oh, cool, this is great. We support the school. I support IA, too. I'm an Athens High School graduate. I went to all his Troy schools. Troy schools are fine. Troy schools are wonderful. Troy schools are crappy when you got people like these other people who are trying to run the district here backwards. You're taking people who lived in the small community that we live in, the little community that we live in, you're trying to just tear us down to as far as we can possibly go. Look, we own our homes here. We live there. And then you want to stick buses up in my mom's front yard? Come on. My father just passed away 3 weeks ago. You know, that's fine. I tried to be very discreet and be very nice about it, and I tried to tell you about the buses and the cars and about the signage. There's no such thing as a signage. Okay, so go back to school. It's just gotten a little ridiculous. And tonight, we are going to make a change on Boyd Street. Tonight. I did this since September. I have been beating my brains out with this. But this girl comes up here. I've been doing this for 6 months. But a girl stands up here and she reads a little note to you. In 6 minutes, she's got everything she wanted. In 6 minutes. And I took 6 months to try to keep all these cars coming off Boyd Street. We don't want to breathe the gas. We don't want to breathe the oil. The lady at 1185 Lynn with her 2 autistic children, she still doesn't have up the handicap signs. 1185 Boyd, she doesn't have the handicap signs. Austin Howlett, he has CP. Everybody knows Austin here. Everybody knows Kelly and Austin Howlett, he has CP. Everybody knows. That boy has still not got a sign down there. And then you wonder why I sit up here and I'm complaining, I'm being a little bit loud. That boy has CP. Not one person has had the audacity to slow down on the street yet. Yet. Nobody has. And you got people that sit here in the back of this room and want to say to me that I stand out there and tell you slow down. I got a reason to. When you tear up my property, when you run across my grass, and you're doing 35 and 40 down my street, and I got a granddaughter running around here, I do got a problem with that. And if anybody's got a problem with that, I live at 1265 Boyd. Feel free. Feel free. And Mr. Fleming, I invited you to my home. You and your wife both. Ms. Milton, too. I'd never want that woman on my property ever again. Ever. Ever in her life. And I think it's pretty ridiculous. I got to keep continuously coming in here, and I can't get one thing done. Ms. Daniels, I told you about the drainage ditch over there. You see it, but I had Barbara Fowler, Superintendent of Troy School District, say specifically that she didn't care about the safety of the kids going to the Baker School because it wasn't, how she put it, it wasn't a safety issue. You've seen it for your own eyes. There's a 5-foot drop with a 1 foot. There's a 1 foot drop with a 5-inch with a 5-foot drop.
Mr.
You know it
Walters,
and I know it.
I know. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Today, we're going to do something about it. Okay. Today.
Thank you. Next is June Walters. Good evening, Mrs. Walters.
This is something new to me. I've never done it before. But Baker Junior High was first brought there. They said that that road, that little pod or whatever you want to call it, it was a cow pasture. And that road was never to be open at all, any time. All of a sudden, they've got it paved, they got it there. Why all of a sudden, when Torpy Drive, when Mr. Torpy himself give them permission to come down that road to the school? All right, everybody was happy about it. Then they turn around, they're coming down our street. They don't stop for the stop sign. You might as well not put the thing up there. As foggy as it was this morning, I stood on my front porch and watched all them cars going fast. Not slow, because nobody's there to see it. And that's not right. I've been there in that corner for 64 years. That's how long I've been married to my husband that passed away just recently. And he couldn't even fit in the garage. And on account of the trucks and the cars go through there. You're doing the same thing to 5 people, our senior citizens on those streets. You people don't care. You don't really care. Because you know why? Our taxpayers are paying your money. We don't go and say, well, we don't have the money to pay it. Can I pay it next week? My kids all went to Troy High. They walked from 16 Mile Road and Rochester Road to Livernois. We didn't have a bus run. They watch snow blow all the time. Now, they just go take their kids from the doorstep to the school, because there's a shortcut. They come off a 16-mile road and go down Heartland so they can bypass the light now again. So we're right back where we started from. So when is it ever going to end? And how you got that property, Mr. Baker owned a house on Daly. On Daly, right there, on the corner by Schroeder's. You know, Mr. Schroeder used to live there. He gave that property to the city of Troy and to build that first school. All of a sudden, we get the second school. Nobody was notified. They just put a street right through. Wake up. There's people on that street yet. And I just like I said, yeah, I was going to come up here a couple of times, but I take my husband to dialysis. I took my husband, picked him up off the floor, put him in my car, and he weighed 250 pounds. But I did it. Don't believe me? You go down to go to Beaumont Hospital, and they asked me, how did I do it? Know how I did it? Because I didn't want an ambulance come down the street and had to fight all the cars to come in there, or the police car to come and pick up stuff that somebody has stolen and put out there in the yard. Oh, yeah. My son called the police on them. 2 bikes out there. They were sitting in front of my house. Not the people that owned the bikes said anything. They called the police department and said it was stolen. No, they were stolen probably, but where were they brought? Down on Heartland, by the garbage can, for the garbage man to pick up, and another one in a ditch. 11 o'clock that night, they come and picked up the bikes. The police did. We know the police is on the ball. We know things have got to be done. But please, stop that traffic. Close that door up there. Because my granddaughter, my great-granddaughter, and my great-grandson both walk to school. And there is nothing for them to walk on. And I'm tired of buying shoes all the time so they don't get sick. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walters. Next is M.L. Geiger. Good evening, Mr. Geiger.
When I picked up the agenda today, I realized that there's an item about, a potential item about rounding up the Canadian geese. And some questions came to mind when it says some of the birds that are relocated or removed at least during this may be killed. Well, obviously a lot of people are concerned about the nuisance factor and could care less about the birds, and I assume there are probably some other people in Troy that wonder what would be the disposition of those killed. So finally I had an opportunity to talk to a person supposedly most knowledgeable of this program with the DNR, and his answer was that so far all birds rounded up have been relocated, but at a certain point, if it becomes excessive, the birds would be slaughtered but used for charity meat source, which is a valid reason to be rather than just disposed of.
Thank you. Jen Anisi? Good evening.
Good evening. Hi. It's weird being on this side of the camera. This is just something I want to say. I want to personally invite all of you to a conversation that we're having tomorrow. We're having a community conversation on education at the Troy Chamber of Commerce. It's happening from 1 to 3 p.m., and it's just an open discussion, and it's facilitated by the Center for Michigan. It's open to everybody. All of you, like I said, are very welcome to attend, and if anybody does want to sign up for it, you just have to go on to troy.patch.com. We have a big blue banner on top. Click that, sign up, and we hope to see you tomorrow. That's all.
Thank you. Richard Peters? Good evening, Mr. Peters.
Evening, Mayor. Evening, Council. I'm going to be pretty short tonight. I just want to, when I look around at the posturing and the field of events this time I see a lot of turbulent change in a changing world. Like a person who is detoxified, a sort of shaking out seems to be occurring. Yet what worries me more than this is the implacable urge of groups from local, state, national, and international to uproot each other, all in the name of gotcha politics. Do not support these recall efforts on both sides, thus reminded of the Aesop fable that what goes around comes around. In short, I still believe in America. I believe it's in the best interest of America to look forward instead of backwards. I also want, I know this may not change people's minds, and I know but the fact is we vote these people in because we ask them to vote their consciences. And when they do that, you know, if we don't like it, then we can do it when the term is out. So in a way, when you vote these people in, you're voting your own judgment in. And so when you try to take them out just because you don't like the way they vote on some things, you're voting against your own self. And I would urge people, you know, to use more prudence and more understanding for their city and for the people. And finally, I still think America should look forward instead of backward. And I hope that as a community, we all could move forward and hopefully things will work out. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Sharon McDonald? Good evening, Ms. McDonald.
I started paying attention to politics in Troy when I first became aware of disinformation campaigns that had been waged against the citizens of Troy by Janice Daniels and her friends in her group, Troy Citizens United, or TCU. That's why I started my blog, Keep Troy Strong, trying to fight back, trying to help save the library. That was back in 2010 when I was in the group Citizens to Save what's it called? Citizens to Save the Troy Public Library. And we fought very bravely against Janice Daniels and her friends, and 2 times we lost. 1 time, the last time, fortunately, my side won, and that's why we have a library today. That's why I was surprised to see in your recent letter that was sent to some Troy residents, though not all of us, that you mentioned the library at all, because I'm glad that the library is open on Saturdays. I'm very glad about that, so thank you for that. But I'm surprised that you would want to mention the library because so many of us think of you as the anti-library Janice Daniels. I remember when you made light of children who would get up and speak to the city council when people from TC would say, oh, they're using their children, because how could children possibly be interested in keeping the library open? I also remember when you said nobody comes to Troy and asks whether we have a world-class library. They want to know if our taxes are low. And that was when you were talking about the relative unimportance of libraries to property values and bringing people to our fair city. I don't think you understood why the library is important to so many of us, and I don't think you do now. If you'd had your way then, there would be no Troy Public Library today. That's just a fact. As a matter of fact, if you, Mayor Daniels, hadn't fought so hard against the Citizens to Save Troy Public Library back in 2010, today we would have a 7-day library with guaranteed funding through 2020. Now we have far less funding for the library, which is why it was only open 6 days, why it still is only open 6 days a week. And also, we have to vote on it again in just a few years. In your letter also, Mayor Daniels, you appear to be taking credit for reducing the Transit Center budget by $2 million, which, of course, Councilman Slater and Councilman Fleming did together, and at the time you complained bitterly about it, but now you seem to be taking credit for it, which I find kind of odd. You also take credit for Troy's returning to 24-hour snow removal policy, which the previous administration did, and I wonder if you're going to be sending out a letter to make sure that people understand that. Will you tell the people of Troy the truth tonight? Maybe you could do that. Will you look into the camera, tell the people of Troy that the previous mayor and council who you so vilified are the people to thank for the return to a 24-hour snow removal policy, a policy finalized before you took office, probably before you even decided to run for office. Will you admit that tonight? Just wondering. And will you tell the truth that if you had not worked so hard to disinform the people of Troy, just as you are doing in this letter that you recently sent out, that we would have a fully funded 7-day-a-week library today? Will you tell the truth, Mayor Daniels, or not? Just wondering.
Thank you, Mrs. McDonald. Next is Manish Bakshi. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Daniels and City Council members. I just decided I want to share some of the top 10 reasons to recall the mayor. Number 10 reason is for smiling at the public during a City Council meeting on February 6, 2010. Number 9, for wearing tan shoes with black suit to a council meeting on February 20th, 2012. Number 8, for wearing a red hat with a red coat at the same time in front of the Channel 7 TV cameras. Number 7, for voting for the Troy Public Library to be open on Saturdays to better serve the people of Troy. Number 6, for making the city of Troy more transparent in its day-to-day operations, as she said she would in her campaign promises to work to put salaries, benefits, contracts, and the city check register on the web. Number 5, for pushing her agenda to fight for lower taxes and to work on less regulatory laws to enhance the business community in Troy. Number 4, for going door to door and talking with city residents on their front porches. Number 3, for not voting for the Troy Transit Center because of the additional cost to the city of Troy for the years to come. Number 2, for representing the interests of the people and property owners of Troy more than the incorporated government city of Troy. And the number 1 reason to recall the mayor for not shutting up and sitting on the back bench as a good little mayor so the liberals won't go bonkers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bakshi. Linda Klima? Good evening.
You know my last name. Okay, you previously mentioned that your bigoted remark on Facebook was a joke and it was just one word. Well, even the citizens of Troy that did vote for you were not electing a comedian. They may have, however, elected an illusionist based on the apparent smoke and mirrors being used on your various forms of communication. You mentioned in a letter to residents what has been accomplished in the last few months. May I remind you, much of that was in process before you were elected. One of those items was the fact that the library is now open on Saturday, but what you failed to mention is that it is open at a cost to the taxpayers. Closing on Saturday was fully evaluated and it was it saved the most money. You failed to mention that in your letter, giving the illusion of it being no cost. You also inferred on your Facebook page that Al Brooks Patterson was to be in attendance at the South Oakland Mayor's Dinner, when in fact he wasn't. He had, however, recommended Matt Glib to speak. When I posted a comment about it, it was quickly removed. You also stated you were elected by the majority of the voters. No, a majority of those that voted. Shame on those that didn't. Another illusion? Now let's look at your timeline on your website. To someone who takes a cursory look, it seems you've been very busy, but let's look at some of these events. You mentioned the Lincoln Day dinner, which sounds like it's honoring Lincoln, when as Republicans we know it's a fundraising dinner, just like the Democrats have Jefferson Jackson Day. The 400 Club is an Oakland County GOP organization. You attended a fundraiser for Mike Bishop. What does that have to do with the city? You also attended Liberty Fest in Holt, a Libertarian Party of Michigan event. While you're free to attend any event you want, it seems disingenuous to list these as if it was part of you being mayor. Just another illusionary tactic. One thing I did notice was that you had nothing noted for Martin Luther King Day. I'd like to know why you happen to be the first mayor who could not attend the ceremonies. I'd also like to know why, if you had a conflict, it couldn't be rearranged. I would think, since a lot of the timeline seems to have happened due to your personal routine, like you spoke to high school students at Subway, that you'd have noted another appointment if you had one. By the way, didn't you say you continue to walk door to door and meet the residents? You've done that once. I didn't vote for you, but hoped that your performance would be adequate. It hasn't. As we've witnessed since your election, there have been many incidents which you have created on your own to cause damage to the once stellar reputation of Troy. Now that you're in danger of recall, you're in the process of doing major damage control. You and your supporters, however, from what I've seen, you haven't learned anything yet. You and your supporters continue to play games with the citizens of Troy to give them the illusion that you are a dedicated and concerned mayor. While others seem to pull your strings, you continue to relish in this madness. Being mayor is an honor which should be treated as such. This is something you've failed to do. It's also a position with many responsibilities. I shudder to think how you would handle a situation such as a natural disaster. I want a mayor who has the city of Troy as their priority, not their ideological beliefs. While I agree with the previous speaker that you should be applauded for your passion for these beliefs, we need someone who can put the needs of the city first and foremost. This brings us to the recall. Let me state for the record, it's not because you won. As I mentioned, I hope you do an adequate job. Unfortunately, it's because of what you've done since being elected and the damage you wreaked on this city, its citizens and reputation. You continue to try to disillusion the citizens even now. Before you and your supporters complain that I'm the bully, remember it was you who originally brought the spotlight on our city, and it was your actions that kept it there. Your actions and bullying tactics were the cause. I want to quote someone you recently supported, in fact alleging that the city of Troy supported him. When the bullies get attacked, they start to whine, said Senator Santorum. I suggest there be no whining and we let the voters of Troy decide without the chicanery and illusionist tactics. You mentioned ridiculous as far as the recall petition. What is ridiculous is the bogus petitions that were filed while being accompanied by an Oakland County commissioner who's supposedly fiscally responsible. Before you start accusing the city and others about mismanaging funds, I suggest you look at the time and money being wasted by all the illusionary tactics that you and your supporters are using to confuse and mislead the citizens of Troy. I ask you to think of our fine city. If you're truly dedicated, as you say, and have an ounce of integrity, then reach deep into your soul and do what is right. Resign.
Thank you. Edna Abraham.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. I'd like to read to you an open letter to you and to the council members from Trust, Troy Residents Unified for a Strong Troy. Dear Madam Mayor and members of Troy City Council, a letter sent from the desk of Janice L. Daniels has been brought to our attention by a number of residents who are concerned about its contents. We have reviewed it. While there are many statements I could dispute, one statement of great concern is a claim that the 24-hour snow plowing decision was made under the new council. That decision, in fact, was made under the previous council, who was able to do so thanks to the sacrifices made by city employees, including police and fire staff. If the reader knows the facts of the matter, such an error causes the reader to question the integrity of the author. If the reader does not know the facts, this letter misreads the reader. Either result is unacceptable. We share our concern with this letter. It reminds us of a misleading information that was sent in November 2010 by a sitting council person. That letter pertained to Proposal 1, the Citizens Initiative to Save the Troy Public Library, and the citizens involved in that initiative were not given the opportunity to provide input and correct errors. It is unfortunate that yet another letter would be sent from an elected leader in this city that does not represent the due diligence, excellence, and integrity that are hallmarks of this municipality. In the future, please bear in mind that we stand at the ready to offer assistance with any personal correspondence any of you, mayor or council member, may wish to send to the residents of Troy that reflect upon the city and its reputation. We firmly believe a strong Troy can only be achieved when we all work together to take partisanship out of the city business and strive together to seek facts in our discussions. We firmly believe that as we work to unite the residents of Troy and heal the wounds that have harmed this outstanding city's reputation, it is absolutely critical that misinformation and misrepresentation of information be eradicated from our discourse. We are committed to be here for all who seek to play a positive, truthful, multi-partisan role in Troy. Mayor Daniels, Our members have reached out to you in the past in an attempt to provide counsel on several matters important to both the cities as well as your own personal reputation. Please know that our priority remains to work for a strong Troy, and any input we provide is truly intended to be consistent with that priority. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the persons that have signed up to speak. Is there anyone in the audience that hasn't signed up that would like to say something? Mrs. Bernardi? I'm sorry, she raised her hand first. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm unprepared. I didn't plan to speak, but, as a citizen in the city of Troy, I feel that you are my mayor as much as you are the mayor of the people who are criticizing you. And I really object to having to listen week after week, month after month, to insults being hurled at the mayor of our city. I think it's inappropriate. I think it's making Troy a laughing stock. I think the people doing it are making themselves look foolish, but worse yet, it's making themselves look hateful. To take a minute and get a breath. I am a true independent, okay? Some people say they're independent, and they're not, for whatever reason. Well, I truly am. People on the right hate me, people on the left hate me. I know you're laughing, but it's true. Because I speak my mind on what is right, no matter who I have to speak it to. I speak to authority what is right, and I'm not afraid to do that. What is going on in this city is wrong. It is wrong. It is hateful. It is evil. And I can't believe that it's happening in my city. I can't believe the transformation that this hatred, this enormous hatred has done to our city. And I don't know. I know you're trying to do what you can to put an end to it. I'd do anything I could to put an end to it. I don't know. I've tried to communicate with these people on Facebook. All they do, if you speak your mind honestly, sincerely, what you truly believe, and if it happens to be that I think what they're doing is wrong to you, then I become the person who is piled upon and bullied and, over and over and over again. So I don't know what to do. And I imagine there are thousands of people in this city who are in the same predicament. We're there, not agreeing with what's going on, but just don't know what to do. I know we would do whatever we could if we knew what to do. We don't know what to do. Week after week, they come up here and hurl insults, and it's wrong. It's wrong for that to be happening. And you know what it really threatens is our freedom of speech. I mean, I know that we treasure that so much in America that we have to, bite our lip and stand by and just listen to hateful, horrible things that are said. We've had people at funerals demonstrating when people were mourning their soldiers. I mean, we had to stand by and do nothing. That's how much we love that freedom. And I guess that's what's happening here now. Thousands of us out there are standing by, holding on, trying to preserve our freedoms. Because the only way we can stop this kind of thing, they don't want to reason with you, they don't want to talk with you, they just want to attack. And I guess the only way that could ever stop is to stop public comment. Well, what does that do? That threatens our whole system of government. That threatens our cherished freedom of speech that we've sacrificed so much for. Men have died, women have died in battlefields to preserve that freedom. So I guess we're fighting our own battle here. We're having to stand as soldiers, stand by, be strong, and thank you, by the way, for your graciousness and for your, you don't lash out. I never could handle what you're going through and be as gracious as you've been. I would probably be hurling insults right back at them and full knowing that that's wrong. But you have the strength to do what's right, and you've been doing what's right week after week after week with these horrible insults being thrown at you. I don't know how you do it. I don't know where you get your strength. But I commend you for it. I thank you for it. And I hope this is probably the most emotional speech I've ever given. And it's all impromptu. But I hope that you know that there are thousands of people out there. I really believe that. We won't know that until we have the results of some of these elections. But in my gut, I really feel that there are thousands of people out there in Troy who are not vocal because we can't be. Who do we talk to? We talk to them, we get attacked. So what can we do? They're out there and they're waiting. I think they're waiting. Or I think they're waiting to show their support for you in the election box. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Mrs. Arking, is that?
Wilshire.
Wilshire, I apologize.
My name is Cynthia Wilshire. I'm a 55-year-plus resident of the city. I was at home tonight watching City Council, as I always do, unless I have something that really disturbs me enough to come up here. I was in my pajamas. I hurriedly threw some clothes on, brushed my hair quickly, no makeup, because I was so upset by the gentleman who came to talk about Boyd Street, and in the process hurled nasty remarks about Louise Schilling and the information she brought to council that she had observed, and we're all encouraged to report things that are not right. That's what she was doing. She was not sorry because she didn't run for office. This gentleman doesn't know his civics. She couldn't run for re-election. She was time limited out. So he needs to check his civics lessons, find out more about what's going on in the city than opening his mouth. And as far as the young woman that came and read the note about her mother, everyone is entitled to their speech, whether they speak English or not. They live in the city. They're impacted by the decisions of the city. They should be encouraged to send someone for their voice in the process, because we certainly can't have interpreters up here interpreting this. This young woman came, and not everybody, even if she had a different language. Maybe she wasn't comfortable about getting in front of people. There's a lot of that going on. I see it every day at the community center, in my swimming group, in my quilting group, in the cafeteria. They're asking me what's going on. They start to watch a council meeting and see all this crap going on, and they want to know what they can do about it. I don't go on Facebook. My grandson works for Facebook, writes programs for him. The only computer I have is my computerized sewing machine, and that I can take care of. And as far as the gentleman reading the second set of recall, those I'm sure were put out to confuse the issue, confuse the public. They were absolute nonsense. And it's a waste of the county people's time to even have to look at this kind of stuff. I put it in the same category as the people that filed the petitions, the 2 petitions with the library millage. And as far as the Saturday opening of the library, our children have had 7-day-a-week library privileges. They just didn't have Saturday in Troy. So we have to accommodate them by spending more money. And I know you're against spending extra money on anything. So why did we have to keep the library open on Saturday? They can go to Birmingham. They can go to any of the libraries in the Macomb district that our library is associated with. Are their parents too lazy to drive them there? I had 5 children, and when they had to go to the library, I made sure they got to a library, no matter which one it was, when it was open, so they could do their work. I'm tired of seeing the weekly headlines of something that you've done or said or upset somebody with every single week. The only one I don't see anything in is my Wall Street Journal. But it's in the Detroit News and the Free Press, which I get, as well as I take the Oakland Press, and it's in the Somerset Gazette and Troy Times. I read a lot of newspapers, figuring if I read them all, I'll have an unbiased look coming from everybody's point of view, so I can get some kind of a plug in what's really going on. I don't know about this mystery letter. I only know one person who got it. I don't know what's in it. I'd like to know who got it and who didn't. I didn't get one. Why didn't I get one? And I'd like to know who's paying for it. Is it coming out of your personal funds, or is it coming out of a fund? We want transparency. Let's have transparency and put all this information out so everybody knows where it's coming from. And I say this to every single one of you. I'm not singling out anybody, but maybe the best two words that people on this council and in this city can use are no comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Mr. Watts? Good evening.
Good evening. Mayor Daniels and council, I commend you on your voting 95% of the time, and maybe 95.5% of the time, you're getting it right. That's great. And there's so many times that you agree, you come together, and that's fantastic. There are some of those controversial issues which are always going to be a part of our city and city life, and those are going to bring some separations. That's understandable. But I commend you for your work so far. And I didn't plan to say this, but there have been comments about the letter that went out from your desk. And I don't see the word I, but it's we and our. You're not taking credit that I can tell for these things. And it's the past several months. It reaches back to the previous council as well. So I feel a lot of those comments so far have been unfounded. And for the lady who wants to know who paid for it, on my copy it says, paid for by the committee to elect Janice Daniels. And that committee is able to do that, of course. Also, Mayor Daniels, I've noticed your outstanding academic record at Oakland University, indicating way above average intelligence. You've never tried to get any elected official unelected, and you've never tried to get any elected official or anyone else, as far as I know, fired from their day or night job. You've never tried to get anyone unelected from their elected position. You've never threatened or an elected official's life or the right to exist on this earth. And yet I suspect some of those things have been coming from some of the people who are in this room tonight. You've been misquoted. And in the last few moments, people have come here and said that you're the only mayor who missed Martin Luther King Day celebration. That's not true either. There are at least two other mayors who missed Martin Luther King Day celebrations. I happen to know that you attended one the day before, the one at Athens High School. You also attended the Black History event. You also attended Taste of Troy. You also supported the high school students who are building houses in Haiti. And the list could go on and on. Those are simply the ones that I could think of while the individual was speaking negatively about you. And by the way, another inaccuracy, there was no county commissioner attending the filing of any recall petitions. And the filer of those petitions is here tonight, and I think he will testify to that. And the county commissioner that was named, I called him, I asked him, he said he was not there, and I take his word for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Haddad? Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I love you all, and I mean it, and I respect you, and I'd like my opinion to be heard loud and clear, because I am really concerned that a group of our citizens, which they have the right to vote and petition and recall and all that, but the problem is they've been wasting a lot of our money. It's going to cost the city money if it go on the ballot and all that. So here's my opinion and my defense, for our wonderful Mayor Daniel, about the points, the issues that they put in the recall. Number one, the definition of the word whimsical as Mayor Daniel used in that is subject to the whim of the majority in power at any time, any given time. The U.S. Constitution and the state constitution are the only documents that are required by law for elected officials to take an oath to. The Constitution of the State of Michigan binds the mayor to the city charter in all things constitutional law. And to add to that, you know, that our city attorney endorsed that. She agreed that our mayor legally, you know, sworn in, you know, the right way. Number two issue, that the Mayor Daniel should be complimented for voting the same way she campaigned against this transit center. For far too long now, elected officials have campaigned one way and voted another way. I want to thank Mayor Daniel for her courage, her conviction, and her uncompromising stand for her principle. You really have principle, as many of you have a principle, and I like that. The third issue, that Mayor Daniel never publicly attacked anyone while reading her petition paper. And these radical extremists who are trying to recall our mayor should be, with all due respect, ashamed of themselves. They're really wasting everybody's time. I know it's their rights, but they really don't have the clean, you know, mission. You know, it's just want to spoil, you know, the result of the election, you know, where the conservative people, you know, took, you know, control of the council. I say the truth. So now they are lying in their issues in the petition to recall the mayor. They're really lying. And the Mayor Daniel read for her concern about the way we were being given limited and biased information about the true cost of this transit center. I want my mayor to publicly announce her concern about how our money is being spent. That is why I supported and campaigned for Mayor Daniel for the election, because I know that she was bold and honest. And issue number 4, it is about time someone like you Honorable Mayor, told our young people that the homosexual lifestyle is dangerous. And by the way, I want to know why homosexual community is allowed to go into our school to promote their unnatural lifestyle. I want this to stop, and the parents in this community need to rise up and say, get out of our schools. Now, I worked in the school district for 17 years. Well, if they want to go in the school and promote their lifestyle, I like my Catholic church, you know, to go in and promote conservative style in the school. And why not? Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Until next time, have a nice evening.
Thank you, Mr. Haddad. Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Mr. Shupke?
Mayor and Council, I appreciate the opportunity to come up, and I wasn't going to speak tonight, but this isn't about winners and losers. This is about running a city, and it's about coming together as friends and neighbors and making this work. I don't care. You know, they say that partisan politics shouldn't be involved in this, but that's all I see up here is partisan politics, and it shouldn't be that way. I grew up in a different era. I grew up during World War II. We had, when we said the pledge to the flag and sang the national anthem, tears came to the eyes. My dad's voice used to crack. in this country meant something. Freedom of speech meant something. All I've seen in the last few months up here is nothing but bullying, and I'm sitting here in the audience, and these wonderful young people are sitting behind me. What an example. These adults. I agree with what Wade Fleming said the other day. We have to have a kinder and a gentler to each other up here. I agree with that, because what an example we're setting for these young people. No wonder there's so much bullying on the internet, in the high schools, on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. This stuff's got to stop. Come on, we're adults. Us behave like adults, and us run this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shepke. Please, no clapping, please. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? That concludes public comments. I'm sorry. Oh, sure. I didn't see you raise your hand. Good evening.
Good evening. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight either, but I wanted to clarify some of the comments that were made by the man, two speakers before me. He was, I believe, talking about your timeline and events that happened with that and things that you supported. He threw out a couple organizations, and he mentioned that you supported the kids that were building schools in Haiti. Well, I happen to be part of that organization. The organization is called Build On, and I just wanted to clarify, we are a nonprofit service organization, but we have no political affiliation whatsoever, so I don't want our organization's name to be thrown around like that, whether in support or against your campaign at all. But since we are on the subject, I want to tell you a little bit about Build On. We'd love to have the support of your council. We are sending 9 kids from Troy High School to Haiti this summer to build a school. We raised over $5,000. I actually spoke with you earlier about that at the orchestra concert, and we'd love to be able to speak at your service meeting, which I believe is in April. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Hi, I know this is a little off topic, but I just wanted to say I think we should spend more time on the positive side of stuff instead of just the negative. I mean, it's important not to ignore the negative stuff, but maybe equal time spent on positives and negatives. I mean, the weather's great outside. We've got great stuff in our community like the Bubble, the Racket Club, and TCC. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chiricero? Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, council members. I'm Nick Chiricero, a citizen of this city for 38 years. I was the guy that submitted the 13 recall petitions. I didn't have help. I'm not a little boy that needs to be dragged by the hand to the Elections Commission to present what I want to present. That's number one. I really didn't have intention of speaking tonight, but the last administration, in its 8 years, did not pass the transit center. After voting to turn down the federal money in December, 4 members of this council decided to overturn that vote. As a result, in January, Fleming's Folly was passed. This will go down the way of the Volt. They suspended production today. I don't see it coming back. The last administration brought before the people a special election 3 times to pass a millage for the library. When the millage was finally passed, they had the audacity to close the library on its busiest day, Saturday. Members of this council were part of that fiasco. Led by Mayor Daniels, the library was open on Saturday and closed on its least used day, Friday. The thing that really bothers about that is we have a $12.5 million reserve. It doesn't have to be closed on Friday. We didn't need the millage in the first place. Next, spotlight of the mayor was brought by the people who lost the election when they exposed one word from a private communication, and they exposed it to the media. That's when all the noise started, and that's when Troy's reputation started to be violated. So let's put the blame where it is. The people that exposed it to the media are the ones that created the problem. The last administration did a lousy job during the winter of 2010 and 2011. Up until that winter, Troy was a premier city, plowing its streets. Last winter, they were terrible. I don't know if this was punishment for voting down the millage or not, but it could have been. The problem you have on, I think it's Boyd Street, why don't you just put some speed bumps in there, slow people down? That might be intelligent. Thank you for your time. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Well, this concludes public comments. Did the council want to take a 5-minute break? Okay. We'll recess for 5 minutes. We'll reconvene at 8:45. Hello, sir. Nice to meet you. Where's our council members?
Well, we gotta wait.
We don't have our council members, yeah.
They'll be coming.
Because I just said 8:45. Response to public comments? Did anyone on the council want to say anything?
Mayor?
Councilman Henderson.
Just a couple of points. One is, early on, there was some mention of the photos at the mayor's meeting, and I just wanted to clarify that. I was at the meeting. There was a section set up with a camera. There was nobody ambushing anybody with any photography equipment throughout the meeting. I was there. I was asked if I wanted my photograph taken, and I agreed. And I didn't see anything wrong with being approached to do so. I think anybody that was there could have opted out had they so chosen to do so. And secondly, the timeline on your website, I went there the other day because I was seeing some chatter about that on the internet. And it's a pretty exhaustive list of things that you've done since November. And I think we all can attest, once we were elected to this position, that weekly we get a barrage with 2 or 3 events we could go to every week in the community. And none of us object to doing that. The problem is always trying to find time to fit that in between work, other personal lives, family, and so on. I just think it's interesting to note that, picking apart, what you have on your timeline. If you had nothing, if that was a blank page, would that make anybody any happier? So I applaud you for putting yourself out there, regardless of what the cause is, just because I know, time is of a premium. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have anything to say? Okay. There are no postponed items, so we can move to regular business now. There are no mayoral appointments, so we'll start with city council appointments. Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis. Just 1 second.
Resolved that Troy City Council hereby appoints the following nominated persons to serve on the boards and committees as indicated. The Historic District Commission, 1 term expiring July 31st, 2013, Hugh Stephen Doyle. 2 terms expiring March 1st, 2014, Barbara Chambers and Padma Kupa. The Traffic Committee, 2 terms both expiring January 31st, 2015. The first position is David Ogg. The second is Lawrence Ted Halsey.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis, seconded by Councilman Campbell. Discussion? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations to one and all. There are no mayor or city council nominations and no request for closed sessions on the agenda this evening, so we have item I-4. It's a request to approve that the city of Troy make formal our entering into an agreement that establishes an interlocal Oakland County tactical training consortium whereby members can implement cooperative programs to train police personnel in small squad tactics and to train for large-scale countywide situations. Would someone like to move the resolution, please? Councilman Slater.
Whereas the Oakland County Law Enforcement Tactical Training Consortium, parentheses, OATTRAC, is an organization established to coordinate a countywide training initiative to prepare Oakland County in the event of a major incident requiring a mutual aid response. And whereas, in order to participate in OCTAC, approval of the interlocal agreement between the City of Troy and Oakland County, the City of Auburn Hills, the City of Bloomfield Hills, the City of Farmington Hills, the City of Ferndale, the City of Novi, the City of Oak Park, and the City of Royal Oak is required. Now therefore be it resolved that the attached interlocal agreement for the Oakland County Law Enforcement Tactical Training Consortium between the City of Troy and Oakland County, the City of Auburn Hills, the City of Bloomfield Hills, the City of Farmington Hills, the City of Ferndale, the City of Novi, the City of Oak Park, and the City of Royal Oak is hereby approved. Be it further resolved that the mayor and clerk and city clerk are authorized to sign the interlocal agreement on behalf of the City of Troy. Yes or no?
Moved by Councilman Slater, supported by Councilman Fleming. Discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
I just wanted to say one quick thing. As I was reading over the agenda in preparation for tonight's meeting and seeing this on our agenda, it brought me back to 2009 when we started having our very serious discussions about the way that we were going to deal with our financial crisis. And one of the tools that we were hoping to utilize when it was going to be possible was regionalization. And although it was one of the tools on the list, we knew that some of those things would take a little bit longer, trying to cooperate with different groups where we could to provide services in this manner. And I'm just very happy to see that this is coming forward. It's moving forward. It's the second phase, as I'm sure all the council members are aware from reading the packets. This is definitely something that will improve our efficiency. It's something that's going to reduce our costs because we're going to be cooperating with training. It's allowing us grant opportunities that we may not otherwise have because we're working together with so many communities. So I'm happy to see this here. Congratulations to the police department and city management for moving forward with this. And I will definitely be voting in support of this tonight.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes. Motion passes. We'll move to consent agenda items. Are there any consent agenda items that anyone would like to remove for discussion? None noted. Could someone please move the resolution? Mayor Fleming? See? Councilman Fleming.
Thanks for the promotion. But
Thank you.
resolved that Troy City Council hereby approves all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Second. Moved by Councilman Fleming, supported by Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis. Discussion? A vote, please, Mrs. Bittner.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
Yes.
Councilmember Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Daniels?
Yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Yes.
Motion passes. There are no memorandums and/or council referrals. Are there any council comments? Mayor Pro Tem McGinnis?
I have one. It's just more of an announcement. I wanted to make sure that people were aware of an upcoming event in the city of Troy. It's an event that's hosted by Troy People Concerned. Troy People Concerned is a service organization that supports Troy residents in times of need with assistance, information, and referrals. Troy People Concerned connects the community to provide a helping hand to those in a time of need. They're hosting a spring pasta dinner on Thursday, April 26th from 4 until 8 p.m. at the San Marino Club, which is located at 1685 East Big Beaver Road right here in Troy. The tickets are $10 for adults and $5 per child under 10. The event is also going to include a $50